Hi guys. First of all, apologies for the lack of podcasts. I did record 2 in the past 3 weeks, or maybe even 3, but this pregnancy, the hormones have just given me this sort of repugnant, dark, horrible, mean, bitchy energy. And I think for my last pregnancy, I was like I forgive everyone, I'm loving everyone, but maybe I'm just looking at it through rose-tinted glass and I did feel this horrible as well. But I'm feeling extra spicy bitchy lately. And the last 2 podcast episodes I recorded and then went back to listen to and edit, it was actually a bit too dark. Like I was giving off I feel like people would have felt bad about themselves after listening to it. The first one was about how content creators and influencers now vlog their plastic surgeries and enhancements to for transparency, but it's actually doing the opposite. And it was pissing me off how normalized it was becoming. And it's like you're basically trivializing something that's so serious. And so there was a whole podcast episode about that. And I was like, it was just it was too angry. Like people are probably already angry about that. You don't need me to do it. I want something a little bit more lighthearted. I want people to feel good about themselves after listening to the podcast. And then the one last week was literally because I got triggered by someone who, well, in fairness, the person literally tried to ruin my life about 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, here's the real story. Anyway, but then I was like, this is a bad idea. I shouldn't be attracting more distress while I'm pregnant. Like, I just shouldn't be talking about things that are going to cause that. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm extra sensitive as well. I can give it, but I also can't take it. And I know that for a fact, so I shouldn't be giving it at all. For the notes I have down for this podcast, the first bit of my notes I have nearly shat myself. Okay, so let's go. Let's dive right in. So we went to Toulouse last weekend. Love Toulouse. It's probably one of my favorite cities. Bit of a hidden gem, I think, because I'd never heard of Toulouse until I moved here, but maybe I'm just not with this like everybody else is. I just think Toulouse, it has everything. Walkable city, gorgeous architecture, the arts, lovely restaurants, good looking people, merry-go-rounds, playgrounds, nice parks. It has it all. I love Toulouse. The only thing it doesn't have is like a nice hotel. We're finding it difficult to find a nice hotel to stay in when we do come up here. We stayed sort of in the outskirts, but we have a car, so that was fine. Anyway, I came up to Toulouse to do a bit of shopping before Christmas. Anyway, so we went to this cafe called Peanut. If you're in Toulouse, do highly recommend. Gorgeous food, gorgeous coffee. Everybody's really nice. Very hippy dippy. It has sort of like but first coffee signs on the wall, you know, that sort of thing. A girl who lives in Toulouse, an Irish girl who lives in Toulouse, recommended it to me, and all of her recommendations were perfect. So there's also the brunch club across the road, which I do think does a really nice breakfast bap if you're looking for that sort of meal. Anyway, we didn't have a booking for the brunch club, so we went across the road to Peanut, but we know that it's nice there because we'd had a coffee. But anyway, I won't even drinking tea since I got pregnant because I'm turned off coffee. I love coffee, but for some reason this pregnancy, I can't even look at it. I like the smell of it, but I don't want to be drinking it. I just don't like the taste, have a total aversion towards coffee. But in Peanut, there was sort of like a meal deal situation going on. So you get your meal and you get a sweet drink and a hot drink. But I'd already had a matcha. Before I ordered my food, I ordered myself a matcha latte, right? That's grand. No shit attack coming with the matcha. Safe zone. I'd also like to mention I haven't had any shit attacks since I stopped drinking coffee. I've been more on the constipation end of things. And this whole pregnancy, I don't even have a bump yet. I just look a little bit constipated. So I'm just giving constipation constantly when I'm walking around. I think when people look at me, they're just like, that girl's constipated. I think they could just feel it off me. Like I'm giving constipation constantly. Maybe that's why I was so bitchy in the last 2 podcast episodes that I recorded. It's just the constipation speaking. I ordered my little avocado toast moment. Now I have to admit, I do love a sourdough toast that you have to cut with the chainsaw. I like it thick. I like it difficult. I like to be, I like the way they make me work for it. And I just do think it's going to pay off. And also it forces you to chew slower and consume your food slower because you have to really put in the elbow grease to be cutting off slices of that bread. And that was the vibe it was giving. But anyway, so I have a matcha, then ordered my food. Bee's having a great time. We've gotten to the point now. We put the hard work in. No screens at meal times. She's really good at going to a restaurant now. Like a little bit loud, wants to have a bit of fun, but that's no problem. Like she's able to sit down and have a meal with us without having a big tantrum or being like, I want to go home. She's just like having a buzz. She got a cookie, she got pancakes, and she had her little glass of water. She was chuffed. Obviously you would be. So we've ordered our food, and then they said that I could get a sweet drink and hot drink. And I was like, I might as well avail of the meal deal. She was like, I know you already paid for your matcha. I could just take money off. And I was like, do you know what? I actually might get myself a little second hot drink. Do you know what? I'm on my Halliers. Fuck it. Do you know what? fuck it, guys. Anyway, so then I was getting a bit worried as I ordered this pressed juice. Now, this was, regardless of the shit attack and what was to ensue following on from this, it was totally worth it. So I got this sort of like pressed juiced moment. It had ginger, carrot, orange, and lemon, that sort of situation, but in a big tall, it wasn't a shot, it was a big tall glass. It was quite it was, I can still taste it now. It was so good. But I got about a quarter of the way down, and I could feel something rumbling downstairs, if you get what I mean. So I said, I better take a break from that and I should eat my food first. I shouldn't be drinking this on an empty stomach. And then for the hot drink, I ordered myself. Now, I also don't really regret doing this either. I think if I go back to Toulouse, I probably will order another one and just take the heat, because I know where the nearest toilets are now from this experience. So anyway, ordered myself a mocha. Now, I have been turned off coffee, but for some reason, a mocha was calling my name. And this mocha, I'm not even exaggerating, was the nicest hot drink I've ever had in my life. It was like, they harvested the chocolate from some sort of Santa Claus adjacent magical elf, shaved it in, melted it into the liquid, and the coffee was like graced by angels. I don't know what was going on with the mocha, but it was absolutely divine. So I was trying my hardest to take it slow, but I couldn't help myself. I was sucking it back. I was inhaling the mocha. And then I was like, actually, I think I should be fine because it's a mixture of coffee and chocolate. Boy, was I wrong. And then with the combination of the ginger, like obviously I might as well have gotten a bottle of laxatives and just downed the fucker in the middle of the restaurant. Like that's how much I was putting myself into a predicament, and I knew what was going to happen. So I start drinking the juice then because I'm thirsty after the mocha. I'm thirsty after doing the workout, trying to cut the sourdough bread with my avocado toast. But I'm having a great time. Jason pays for the brekkie and I say, I'm going to go to the toilet. The problem with the toilet is it's in the hallway. It's right beside where the baristas are. So I fear that everybody can hear me. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I come in because B is a good security blanket. So I come in with her in the toilet and it's grand. You see, the thing is, when you're a mother, you can just blame everything on the child. If you fart, blame it on the child. If you do a destructive, toxic waste shite, blame it on the child. No problem. It's not doing anybody any harm. So anyway, I bring her into the toilet and it's fantastic because no one knows if it's me or her doing a dump. But anyway, I'm sitting on the toilet. I'm there for a long time, but there is sort of like post-it notes that you can write a note and put it on the wall being like, oh, thank you so much for the meal. Merci beaucoup. Oh, it was très magnifique, whatever. So she's drawn her little smiley face and put them on the wall. That's grand. And she's like talking to me. So it's actually masking the sound of the plop, plop, plop. Anyway, then I'm there for a while and it's like, this is getting bad. This is like explosive sort of situation. So then she comes over and she, like, I don't know how she even knew, but she comes over and she's like, are you okay? Like, that's really concerning if a 3-year-old is like asking you if you're okay. And she comes over and she goes, did you do stinky? And then she smells and she goes like this. I've never seen such a frightened look on my child before. She went and backed into the wall. Okay. It literally, the fumes threw her against the wall. Okay. So I was like, Mommy will be finished soon. So anyway, I think I'm emptied out and I'm like, okay, maybe that's the end of it. That's perfect. I've released I've dropped the kids off at the pool. Anyway, you catch the gist. Then we go in to do a bit of, we have to get B a coat, a winter coat. She doesn't have a big padded winter coat. She's growing like there's no tomorrow. So anyway, we go into Uniqlo. So she's sitting down because there's like a toy area to play with. She's speaking in Irish, French and English. Thank you very much. Where a mother actually asked me what language is that. And I had to explain to her that in Ireland, we actually have our own language called Irish. And she goes, oh, you call English something different? And I was like, no, it's a different language. And then I had to speak a little bit in Oscar, I guess. So I was chuffed. Anyway, so I'm looking at the coats. She's trying them on, whatever. Then I feel a little bit of rumbling. Jason's on a different floor because he's browsing the men. So I have to text him and say, I have to sit down. I think there's a bit of an emergency. So I have to sit down and clench like my life depends on it. Clenching. Now, thankfully, when I gave birth the first time, the episiotomy that I got only was the equivalent of a 2nd degree tear, now 3rd degree. 3rd degree goes all the way back to your ass hole. Mine was like just about there, but not the full way. So I still have full movement, not in my vag, but in my arse. I can squeeze. I can squeeze it tight. So but I have to sit down is a problem. If I'm walking, it's not, I can't be clenching at the same time. It's like not a multitasking sort of situation. So anyway, he comes up and he's like, perfect, perfect. And I'm overheating. I'm going, I think we have to find the nearest toilet soon. Now, luckily, we'd been there the day before and I had used the potty. I've done a little innocent wee in the Gallery Lafayette the day beforehand. Not as glam now, I will say, as the Brown Thomas toilets. Nothing will compare to the Brown Thomas toilets. Taking a dump at the Brown Thomas toilets is like a different sort of level of bougie, and it's my favourite, especially if you have the buggy, you have full usage then of the disabled toilet, I will say, because the buggies don't fit up the stairs in the women's toilet. So the only place you can go is in the disabled toilet. And it is lovely. It's luxury. Privacy, bit of room. There's never a queue. It's fantastic. Anyway, nothing will compare. This was a bit less. It was a bit less than what I'm used to, the luxury that I'm used to. But anyway, so I go up to the toilet and of course then B's going, I need to wee. But the unfortunate thing is when you're a parent, sure, I can blame things on her. I can blame the toxic waste stench off her. But she takes precedence over using the toilet. She has first preference is the problem. So I'm there clenching. I have to sit down on her buggy clenching while she's on the toilet. And she's there swinging her legs talking to me. And I'm going, it's not the time to make conversation, babe. You need to hurry up because mama is going to have an accident. And she understood. Now she knows what accident means big time. Your kids know what accident means. She's like, okay. Anyway, hurries up, plops herself down, grand. So I don't even know how I made it, but it was nearly there. I nearly shipped myself in public, like very, very nearly. It was touch and go for, I'd say, I think if she was on that toilet for 2 seconds longer, it would have been down my leg. But then I felt a little bit sick for the rest of the day. So I don't know actually if it was worth it. And I could only eat like plain foods. Like I just had chips in the car on the way home, real plain beige food after that. But I still would go back to Pinot and get that mocha. Like, I just think it was so, so delicious. And like, will I try and make one at home? Or is that booked up? Because in the safety of your own home, I feel like you can get away with doing dodgy shit like that. Like, you can. See, and also, I think it was the combination of like the pressed juice. Like, why the fuck am I going for a double and like doubling up on my laxatives? It's moving on. I'm going to start answering questions then. Sorry about that if anyone's a bit queasy, but we're all friends here, aren't we? We're all friends here, huh? And it's just like, I haven't gotten really bad symptoms for this pregnancy. I would say my symptoms of my pregnancy are so mild to the fact that I get worried that I'm still pregnant. I'm kind of going, are you there? Like, is there something going on? Especially because my tummy, like my bump is just giving constipation. So I'm like, am I just a little bit bloated and they've actually gotten it wrong? But then I go to the doctor and like, there's a baby kicking around in there and there's a heartbeat and everything. So I'm kind of going, this doesn't make any sense because I don't feel it. But in that instance, when I was like, I'm about to shit myself, I was thinking, that's the baby there. That's God showing me a sign that there is a living being inside me, because there's a lot of action going on. But I have started feeling the baby kicking in the past week or two. Now, there were like flutters there, but again, I didn't know if I was passing gas or if it was just like the constipation and I was feeling a bit like bubbly in there. But I have felt kicks in the last week or so, particularly on this side. So I presume the head is over here. The legs are down this side, but it is such a nice feeling because you're like, okay, you're there, thank God. I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed yesterday. It was the first day I had a bit of a big cry since I came here. Now, I have been tearing up with like a lump in my throat. Yeah, in the first trimester, definitely, when in the US, when they lost what is that thing called? The SNAP benefits. When they lost their SNAP benefits, and then I saw people in communities were setting up like food banks outside their homes and their driveways, and I was tearing up with a lump in my throat. Then I was it's all about food. It's like food related. Then I was getting really upset at videos. Now this is like, it doesn't even make any sense, of like people making meal prep videos. I was getting really upset because in France you have a 2-hour lunch break and the teachers, like in school, if they don't have to mind the kids, are there. Like my daughter's teacher, she goes home for her lunch break, and I presumably her kids go home as well, and it's like a little bit of a family get together. There's time to cook a meal. You have time to go to the shop. It's 2 hours long. You can chill out a little bit. You could play a board game if you want. So it's not in the culture here. like, I can't imagine anybody meal prepping. So for some reason, these meal prep videos of like people in the US meal prepping made me really upset, because it was just like, why can't you have a proper lunch? You don't even have enough time to make your lunch fresh every day. You know? And it was probably the people who could afford food, you know, like, it wasn't something to get upset over. But anyway, I was getting a little bit upset. But then yesterday, see, I was already a little bit vulnerable because I finished my book, Kit DeWall. It's called The Best of Everything. And I wasn't upset because the story was particularly sad. It actually had a nice ending, but I was actually sad because I was going to miss the characters in it because I liked them that much. I really recommend the book. It was really, really good. I finished it in 3 days, like one of my favorite books. I was already a bit vulnerable because I was thinking of the loss of the characters, and I wanted it to keep going. So then anyway, the healthcare, see, people have been asking me, can you compare the healthcare between Ireland and France? And I can't really until I go through the whole process of like giving birth and the postpartum experience as a whole. But currently, I'm just finding it really overwhelming because I don't understand the system here. I think that's the hardest part, and no one can really give me a straight answer. I keep being like, what am I supposed to do here? I'm also nearly halfway through my pregnancy, and I don't really have a straight answer about what I'm doing. Whereas in Ireland, you contact your GP. In Ireland, and like, I had antenatal, or is it antenatal or prenatal? I was pregnant in London and Dublin. So like, the systems were very similar. You call up a GP and then they connect you in with a maternity hospital or a normal hospital with the maternity unit. And then you go visit that hospital. Is it every 2 weeks or every month? They take your bloods, they take a urine sample, they take your blood pressure, and then that's it. They're like, do you have any questions? And they'll keep you updated about what's going on. Whereas this time in France, it's very like, I don't really understand what's happening. Like, I called a midwife, then she said, oh, you have to go to this obstetrician. Then when I went to him, he doesn't take your bloods, he doesn't take your blood pressure, he doesn't take a urine sample. He gave me a prescription to go get a blood sample somewhere else, and then a prescription to go get my ultrasound from a different place. So it's just all of it. And it's like, they won't speak English as well, so you'll have to do it in French. So then when I had an appointment with him this week, he was like, did you get your blood test? And it's like, I never got an appointment for one. And then he said, no, you just walk in. So it was just all, and I was really upset then because it was the only moment where I was like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening. So my birth still isn't registered in France. Like, they can't give me my dossier or whatever because I haven't been able to do all of these things. And also, I was trying to get my medical records. My obstetrician wanted my medical records from the rotunda from my previous birth and also from the first trimester, because I did have an appointment with them. And you have to fill out all these forms because of GDPR. And then I got the receipt in the email and it says it takes 20 working days. Obviously, like, that's a big chunk of your pregnancy. And so he was like, do you have those records? And I was like, I can't get them for another 20 days. So I'm just like in the lurch a little bit, where I've had no information given to me about the baby or the pregnant. Like, I have no idea what's going on. And then he's like, any other questions? And I said, I haven't gotten my whooping cough vaccination. And in Ireland, you get that at 16 weeks. He was like, oh no, you don't get that. And I was like, what's happening? Like, I don't really understand what's going on. So I was really upset. I think I actually cried for probably half an hour. Just such a long time, because I cried from the moment I left the doctor's in the car on the way home, and then for another 10 minutes staring at the window. And it was one of those where I wanted to make noise. I wanted to be like, and I was literally going like, I miss, like, nearly there, going, I miss my mummy, like that sort of crying. And I did say to Jake, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, I actually missed the rotunda so much because it was it's so straightforward. You go in they do everything in one go. When I went in Ireland, it was like, I got my blood pressure taken. I saw my GP, first of all. I took my blood pressure. She was like trying to book me in for loads of different things, asked me loads of questions. And then in the rotunda, they did my ultrasound, blood pressure, blood test and urine sample all in one day. And then here they're like, do you have any questions? And I'm like, are you not supposed to be asking me questions? Like, I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you haven't given me any information. Like, I don't even know what my blood pressure is right now. It's probably through the roof, I would say. No one has taken my blood pressure once since I've been here. So I asked for if anyone had any questions for me. I need to calm down now. If anyone had any questions for me for a bit of a life update. So I'll start out with something a little bit lighthearted. Wedding plans. So fun. So fun. So I have my wedding dress. It's in storage in my mom's house in a little dust bag or whatever they're called, soup bags. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to fit in it right now. I'm not going to be able to fit in it when I'm breastfeeding, I would say, just because the size of my tits is like absolutely diabolical. So the plan was to get married in September of 2027. But the thing is that life just keeps getting in the way. And obviously, a wedding is not really a top priority, especially when it comes to like the expense of it, the extravagance. But we do want to have a nice big wedding, is the problem. So there's just things that keep coming up in the way, like, you know, saving for a house. Will the kids be old enough to be minded for the night with someone else? Will the kids be old enough for us to go on our honeymoon? Loads of other factors that we have to take into consideration. But we are still looking at venues and like putting the plan in there just in case, if it's either going to be 2027 or 2028. Like, that's the plan. Like, there's not really any rush because we are still young. Like, it doesn't matter if we're getting married in our 30s. Like, that's still a normal thing to do. My suggestion was to do a little like city hall job. I'd love just like maybe get a little city hall job and then I have our big wedding later down the line. But I don't think Jason is into that. He wants to get married and have the wedding on the same day. But I wouldn't mind either because first of all, I get to wear 2 outfits. I get to be celebrated twice. Like, bit of fun. Going back to Dublin, doing a little city hall, especially because me and Jason's, one of our first apartments was in Dame Street, right beside City Hall. Like, the building was connected to each other. I just think that would have been really romantic. And then go for a dinner in Fallon Burn or something with just close family, and then have the big extravagant wedding with friends and everything like a year later to save a bit more. I just like the idea of wearing 2 outfits. Maybe I should explain this to him. I'm like, Jason, it's not about marrying you, to be honest. It's just about the outfits. But again, because I didn't get to have the whole like trying on wedding dresses with my mom and my sisters, I would love to have that experience, but I still need to get a veil. So there is this, what's she called? Jane Bourvie? Jane something. Anyway, there's an antique wedding dress shop that I've had my eye on for the past, like, since we first got engaged, like the first time round, which was 4 years ago. It loves me so much, engaged and promotes me twice. But anyway, there's a place in Notting Hill that she does antique wedding dresses, and I've had my eye on the dresses. But since I already have my dress, I was thinking maybe I'll get a veil from there. And the thing with that is I'll have to try on my dress with the veil anyway, just to make sure that they're color matched. So I will get that experience anyway. So at some point, again, I can't be pregnant when I'm doing it because I wouldn't fit into the dress. So I need to be able to have that experience with my mom and my sisters, but I might just do it 2 in 1 and maybe have my hen party in London and then also have the try on and buy the veil while I'm doing my hens, because it's a bit unfair to be like, everybody fly to London now for me, do you know? Even though my sisters and mom love London and they probably would do that anyway. There's this great website called Bridebook. I made an account and then it will show you all the different wedding venues within that specific area that you're looking at. So there are a few areas. We're looking from between Bordeaux, Toulouse and Marseille because they're all within sort of driving distance. It's like 4 hours to Bordeaux for us and then 3 hours to Marseille, again 2 hours to Toulouse. So they are all within driving distance. If we have 2 kids with us, like, it's a lot easier to drive with all the things in the car and be able to stop and whatever, and you're not disturbing other people, than it is to fly with all that stuff going on. Next then was, do you have any baby names picked out? And to be honest, guys, Jason actually picked the name of our first daughter. Like, I haven't a fucking clue, and I also don't trust my decision making skills because my mind changes so much. And I think when I first had my daughter, like, I would have named her something stupid and then regretted it down the line and been like, what the fuck was I thinking, to be honest? Because what was on my baby name list when I was, say, for example, 22 is very different to what would be on my baby name list now. But for example, like, the baby's names that I have in my head for the moment that have all been vetoed by Jason is, number one, the only one that I liked the sound of was Mary. Like, I just think a little girl called Mary would be so cute. Jason has no interest, so that's been vetoed, which actually is a bit of a relief for me because I think it's too much pressure to name a child. So Jason's been thinking of a few names, but I do think as the pregnancy goes on, something will feel right. Like, when I was first pregnant with my daughter, we did have her named something different. And then as she grew, it changed then to what her name is now. And it suits her so much. So I think the name will just hopefully come naturally. But for the moment, I'm not stressing about it at all. Like, feel like I had so many more choices the first time around, but I do think you do for your first baby anyway. And then you get kind of sick of listening to the other names that you had prepared because they're kind of still associated with that first baby. You don't want to recycle. I don't know. It feels like I'm recycling a name. So we've thought up of a few new names, but I'm not sure. If for a boy, I love the name Kuon as well. I just think that's such a cute name. And also, someone did ask me, it was actually in a TikTok comment, it wasn't in this question box, but somebody asked me if we've come into any difficulties because my daughter has an Irish name. Like me and Jason's names are like spelled, it's pronounced phonetically and written phonetically, so we haven't had an issue. But with her name, it is quite, like people in Ireland have a difficult time pronouncing it. When I say what her name is, people mishear it and say something different back to me. And she has family members that do mispronounce her name because it's just the way the letters are. It's not actually the way that the way that's Irish. I feel like if Irish people saw it spelled, they'd know exactly how it's pronounced, but the way I'm saying it, it's a bit difficult to understand. So the first day when we went in for the tour of the school, they were asking us how to pronounce it because they didn't understand. So I just said it very clearly, and that was it. Like, everybody can pronounce her name properly now, and everybody in the school pronounces her name properly. So there hasn't been an issue. So it hasn't actually really turned me off of giving my second child an Irish name, because I think French people in particular as well are very respectful when it comes to that. Like in the UK, it's probably a little bit different, where they kind of slag you for having a weirdly spelled name, because even though it's in a different language. I just don't think they have that understanding there. It's like they expect everyone's name to be in English. Sorry, that was a bit of a sweeping generalization. I don't mean everyone in the UK, but in the UK, they do have a really hard time pronouncing Irish names, which is crazy because of the amount of Irish people that do live in the UK. But in France, because their language is basically built off of like particular pronunciations, in English, you can pronounce a particular word in 100 different pronunciations because we have a lot of different accents, whereas in French, you can't really do that. It's like, then it turns into a different word. It's like and are completely different sounds, and you can't mispronounce words, otherwise it's just a different word, if you know what I mean. So they're very respectful, I think, when it comes to pronunciations and understanding that names can be in different languages. And they also, in this region, I find that they love Irish people. Like, I've found that they really, really like, and Ireland in general. There's so many times I've been talking to people and they're like, it's my dream to go to Ireland, and I love Ireland and I love Irish people. So that's been fantastic, because sometimes you don't want to get mixed up with a different nationality. Now, another question was, I think a lot of people are in the same boat, like young families in Ireland, and they don't know whether they want to emigrate or not because they want to stay near their family for support. The problem is with decision making is, I thought for a very long time there's the right decision and the wrong decision, but that's obviously not the case. With every decision that you make, there's going to be pros and cons to that. And it's not that one is better or worse than the other. It's just like one is a different preference. It's like picking a different flavor or picking something different at a restaurant. It's not like one is the right answer and one is the wrong answer. It's all to do with your preference and what you're in the mood for in that particular moment, and your tastes do change over time. And I think for this particular time in my life, I do think it's a good experience for my daughter to learn a new language. It's the perfect time for her to take on a new language. Also, me and Jason are very young. I have a good career where I can work wherever I want. It's a great place to expand the family and have more kids. I don't know what's in store for the future, because I can't say definitively whether I'm going to stay here forever or whether I'm going to go back to Ireland or if I'm going to move to a different country. I just can't say that yet. But for the moment, it's not that this was the right decision. It's just like the one that we wanted to do for the moment. And there would have been pros and cons to staying in Ireland as well. I mean, it was a very stressful environment. Obviously, France is not perfect, but like there's a lot of difficulties with raising kids in Ireland. I wouldn't have been able to have another child because it's impossible to get a childcare space. I wasn't able to get a childcare space for my daughter for 3 years. And I can work majority at home, but there was some opportunities that would have been handed to me that I wouldn't have been able to take on, like job offers that I wouldn't have been able to take on because I couldn't spend that much time away from her because I couldn't get childcare. And in hindsight now, like that actually is a bit fucked up. Like I should be able to get childcare for my child if I can afford it. You know, it wasn't an issue of not being able to afford it. It was just that there's absolutely no spaces. And I had her name down for my dad's area, my mom's area, and the area that we were living in Dublin. If my kids are school age, obviously that changes things, changes my career prospects and what I can and can't take on. Just what suits us for the moment. And obviously the cons are that we're away from family. So my mom has tried to visit as much as she can. My dad's coming over in December. One of my friends is coming over in December. So it really breaks up the time for those visits. I haven't been able to feel the loneliness yet, but maybe it's coming down the line. But I think because I have things to look forward to and people actually do want to visit you, because people want to come to the south of France. Of course they do. Whereas like no one wanted to come to my apartment in West Dublin. No one wanted. My mom had never been in that apartment until the day we moved out of it. So no one was really visiting us out there, but people want to come to the south of France. So we've had lots of offers of visitors coming to see us. I do think there's pros and cons. And once you start looking at decision making with that approach, rather than putting so much, like catastrophizing this big decision, I'm kind of glad that I didn't have that perspective on it, because I have in the past been like, if I make this decision now, it's going to change the course of my whole life and it might fuck me up. Whereas I think I have the perspective now at this age that even though I made decisions that felt wrong at the time in the past, it was still what was right for me in that moment. And it was like the decision I wanted to make. And there's pros and cons to everything. There would have been pros and cons to the opposite decision that I think that was the right one. Do you know what I mean? Am I explaining that right? I think I've gotten to the age now as well where, you know, when you think you're too old to pick something up, or you think your time has passed for something, say if you wanted to learn the guitar or learn a new language, you think, oh, well, if I started younger, it would have been much easier. So there's no point in me starting it now. I just really wanted to get rid of that now, especially because I'm 28. And in your late 20s, there's like a sort of realization that you want to get things ticked off your list before you turn 30. And also the realization that you're not old. Like, I can pick up new things and I can start trying. Like, I always thought that I had to make it in the Forbes under 30 list for some reason. I was like, I can only start a business if it's successful under the age of 30. Otherwise, it's a fucking waste. When obviously that's not the case. There's a lot of successful people that are hugely successful later on in life. And like, even if you look at your parents, like parents change careers or change companies that they work for constantly throughout their whole career, and they might have dips and they might have ups again. It's like not a normal thing that I was comparing myself to, I suppose, online, because a lot of young women are championed in society for their successes, and then as they get older, it's sort of like not really as seen as that admirable for some reason. It's like the younger you are in your achievements, the better it's seen by other people and the more admirable it is and the more celebrated you are. When that's not the case, like, it's probably that they're just not getting as much coverage. You know, like older women are not getting as much coverage for the work that they put in. So I just have gotten rid of that, and it's been so motivating because I've been doing so many different things and been so motivated. Obviously I have fucking lazy days because I'm pregnant. Like, most of the time I'm not arsed and I just want to watch Desperate Housewives and eat cookies. But I have been working hard for like my guys, I'm gonna say the word, working towards my dreams. And I've been writing every day, and I just feel like I'm so doing the right things every day, and I feel very content and fulfilled constantly. My advice is to stop thinking about things so much. Like, yes, obviously meticulously plan, especially if you're moving country. I had a lot of savings. We knew exactly where we were going. Like, we really, really planned it very, very fastidiously, like knew exactly what the fuck we were doing. But my advice is to not think about it so much. Like, if I sat there thinking about, oh, well, what if B gets depressed? What if she gets bullied? What if she misses Ireland? What if she misses her grandparents? Like, what if, and thinking of all the things that could go wrong, obviously I'm going to turn myself off of that decision. But like, I would have been thinking about it for the rest of my life probably. What if I moved to France? What if I moved somewhere else? And I don't want to be living like that. Like, I just want to do it and try it. Like, why can't I just go and try it, and if I don't like it, I can come back? But the thing is as well is, when you have a child in school, you really commit to it and you have to make the most out of it, because you don't want to be moving them around halfway through school. I think if before I had kids, I would have been like, don't like this place after 2 months, you know, don't like this place, have to move, don't like this place. Nothing's happened yet, you know, haven't made friend yet. Whereas when you have a child in school, you really are integrated into community, and you want to have the most stable environment for them. So like, thinking of finishing out the school year and making sure you have the same home throughout it, and making a nice, safe, stable home for them. and making sure that you're visiting family regularly, fitting in FaceTime calls. Whereas like I wouldn't have made that effort for myself if I was just on my own moving somewhere. And maybe that's what makes it a bit more difficult. If you are moving to a different country on your own, you really have to make a plan for yourself to integrate yourself into the community, make time for yourself to make friends and, and commit to it and make the most out of it. Next then is, oh yeah, the perfect age gap. How did you know about the perfect age gap? So I, for myself, was my midwives had told me in the rotunda, and it is a piece of information that just stuck with me, is that your body doesn't fully heal until until you were 2 years postpartum. So I knew that I couldn't technically start trying until then, because I wanted my body to fully recover and to have like the best possible pregnancy for my next round. And then when my daughter was 2, we were not ready. I think we just maybe had just gotten back together, or I can't remember what stage of life we were in, but we were kind of trying to figure out what we were doing with our lives. I just wasn't ready for that second commitment yet, but I knew I wanted to have an age gap of like 2 to 4 years would be perfect. Like any older than that, my fears like then they're not going to be mates. Like I kind of want them to get along and be able to play with each other at some stage. But if you have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, it's a bit more of like a friction in the relationship where it's like, stop following me around. Do you know what I mean? B would be 10 and be like, why do I have this 5-year-old following me around and trying to play with me? So I wanted to have it a bit closer where they still could play with each other and they're kind of having the same childhood, if that makes sense. Like we could all go to Disneyland at some stage and they're all like Disneyland age, or like be in the same school at the same time together. The ideal age gap for me is like 3 to 4 years, which is what we're getting. And I kind of love the fact that B has her own independence in her own school. She has her own friends. She goes somewhere else throughout the day where she's not like reliant on us constantly and like needs us 24/7. So I do think it's perfect that we waited until now. And then she'll have her summer off to like spend with the family, so she doesn't feel left out though at the same time, and like build up that relationship with her sibling. And also I'm 3 years apart from my sister Ellie, and I'm 5 years apart now from Saoirse. And in fairness, like we're all best friends, so I suppose if she was a bit older it actually wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But I was just kind of working off the basis of my own relationships with my own siblings. That's the kind of criteria that I wanted to have. I think it's like very different to different families. Like I know of women who want to kind of have one stint of their maternity leave in one go, so they'll have like their a baby after the other, to kind of get it over with. And my mom's friends as well are like, if you're going to be having sleepless nights, you might as well just do it all in one, get it all over with in one go. So I understand from that perspective as well. Now, next question, this will be the final question, is trying to be creative when you're busy being a mom, etc. Now, in fairness, I don't have the same timetable as someone who's working full time and has a toddler. And also my toddler, she goes to school for a large portion of the day, so I'm able to do my work and everything. But being pregnant just makes me a little bit tired. Like it's not really an infringement on my creative abilities or how much work I can get done that much. Like I just have to be lying down or sitting down while I'm doing it. No, I do hit a wall, I'd say at around 5 p.m. But Jason's off work just a little bit after that, so he'll do everything, like cook the dinner, play with B, do bath time, do the night routine and everything, so that I can relax, which is fantastic. And that's usually the time where I'm just doing nothing. But I found having a replacement, because I do like doing things all the time, and I find that if I'm feeling lonely, if I'm feeling sad, I'll pick up my phone and start scrolling. So I needed to have a replacement for that. And that's my Sudoku. I know I've talked about it so much, but like my Sudoku has just been a game changer. And since I pick up my Sudoku so quickly in the morning, that's how I'm getting my dopamine first thing. So it's constant. That's how I'll try to continue getting my dopamine throughout the day as well. So it's like picking up things that are similar to the Sudoku book. So I've been reading so much. I think I've read 4 books in the last 4 weeks, which is really good, because before that, in the first trimester, I wasn't reading at all. In fairness, with my second trimester, I was vertical for the whole 3 months, and I was just on my phone. But in fairness, I think I cut myself a little bit slack. For your first trimester, you're totally allowed to do that. So I've been reading so much more. And because I'm writing, if I lack any inspiration, or if I've hit a block or something, I will always just read a book, and that usually helps me, because there are books out there that do inspire you to write more. But if you're not feeling creative, I mean, I know after work, a lot of people they just want to, lie down and watch TV because you're so tired. And that's the only thing I can relate to, is just like, I am very tired in the evening. And that's usually the time where you just want to sit down and do nothing. But I do recommend like picking up you can watch the telly and have the telly on in the background, because I was demonizing myself for doing that, like having the telly on and doing something else at the same time. time. But I think it's kind of fair enough, like having a bit of background noise or putting on, you know, one of those like AI Christmas trees with the jazz, the smooth jazz in the background, and making homemade decorations with the telly on, or doing the Sudoku with the telly on, or if you're into crocheting or knitting, you could do that with the telly on. I just think it's fine to do a little bit of two in one, like melt your brain a little bit with reality TV. And I do think it's like habit stacking. You're like habit stacking with your creativity. I hope that answered all your questions. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that wasn't giving off repugnant dark energy, and I'll see you next week, hopefully. If I'm not giving off dark repugnant energy, bully mean girl energy. And I'm even a bitch in my dreams as well. Last night in my dream, I was like beating the shit out of people. And remember, the other week I put up on my story being like, I had a dream that I beat up my uncle, and he's one of my favorite uncles. But last night, genuinely, I was beating women, like girls my own age, with the shovel and dragging them down the stairs by their hair. It's really concerning. I don't know what is going on with the anger.